Hello, everyone, and welcome to LibraryCon Live. My name is Matthew Galloway, and I'll be moderating the opening keynote. But first, I'd like to extend a special thank you to our sponsors for their generous support. Your partnership helps make events like this possible. For the audience, remember that all of today's sessions will be recorded and available for 3 months. Just log back in and find all the recordings in the sessions area. We're excited to offer a fantastic lineup of speakers who will be sharing their craft and stories with us today. Today, we're speaking with Moniquill Blackgoose, whose novel To Ride a Rising Storm releases in January. This is the sequel to her award-winning To Shape a Dragon's Breath. I'm so excited to welcome Moniquill Blackgoose.
Was this the correct time to cut in?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hello.
So I guess to start with, I first listened to Shape a Dragon's Breath on audio, so I didn't realize it was an alternate history because I didn't get to see the map
Oh.
until I was reading book two. So I was wondering, what does alternate history like allow you to explore that other subgenres of fantasy don't?
I think doing alternate history as opposed to secondary worlds allows me to get like closer to the bones, if that makes sense. I can explore real history better than I could if I was just doing this is blank coded, like these are indigenous coded, these are Norse coded, these are English coded. Um, it is very much I get to explore real cultural things um, and real history. So
Oh, fascinating.
kind of a what if, what if dragons?
So your first book won the Lodestar and the Andre Norton Awards for YA fiction, but it's marketed as an adult novel, and that's certainly where it is in my library. How do you think your book impacts these different audiences?
I didn't. I wrote it for young people, um, but YA is a marketing thing, and it's kind of I leave the marketing to people who know how to marketing. I don't have a marketing bone in my body. Um, I don't know how to sell things, so I wrote it to be approachable, but it covers a lot of themes that are not usually in YA fiction. Um, I think it's good for pretty much anybody over the age of 10.
Nice.
Uh,
Okay, and then in book two, we have like even more dragon species and illustrations. So I was wondering what the inspiration for your like dragon taxonomy is.
the taxonomy, well, dragons are heterodontosaurids. Um, I like my alternate history starts in the Mesozoic.
Oh, nice.
um, but it's largely about how various cultures, how humans interact with dragons. So, what a dragon breed is called is determined by what culture bred that dragon. Um, there's like wild type dragons are determined by their environment, but selective breeding by humans has led to specialized dragon variants. And often their names are determined by what that culture wanted to see. Um, or just characteristics of the dragons. Like silver draks are gray. Um,
People seem very interested in the chat about the biology of your dragons. Do you think that'll be explored more in the books or in something else later?
Probably in something else later because it is unknown to anyone in the books. They like
Hmm.
I have knowledge that the characters do not have. They have not unlocked that level of science.
Hmm.
It's the 1840s.
Would you like to talk more about Anacus's community? I felt like the first book, was very fish out of water. She's
Hmm.
dealing with the English and their society and all their weird beliefs, and just trying to figure out how she fits in. And then your second book starts out with this like extended summer break, and we get to just, I don't know, feel so comfortable and accepted in her community.
That's exactly what I was going for. That's like, this is her home space. This is where she is comfortable. It's so many narratives about Indigenous life are about wanting to leave your community. And I never got that because my community is my home. This is my family. This is, my comfortable place. This is where I feel most grounded and most myself and most in my power. Um, Whereas being, I think it's a very Western view to, strike out and see the world, etc., and the concept of conquest and exploration. Um, Whereas a lot of indigenous cultures are not about that. They are about the Marty Tubles has this great article, Hercules versus Coyote, and it is about the fundamental differences in like worldview between indigenous cultures and Western cultures. And one of the great lines is, "We never left Eden." So, like, we are in the good place. Um, and that is a lot of how indigenous cultures interact with the world.
Hmm.
We have not been cast out of the goodness. We are in the goodness.
That is definitely how it feels whenever she goes home. Like,
Mm.
and I love how even though she finds the English strange, it seems like she is trying to accept them for who they are as best she can,
Being
if
very
they're
game
not
about all of
infringing.
this.
Okay, so without trying to get into any spoilers from the first book, there's this like really triumphant moment at the end that feels like everything could change for the better. But then the Jarl comes up with this plan, and we get to see how it works in the real world. And it feels like there's some sort of contradictions that arise from what the Jarl is trying to do and what the people of Muspelheim want. Do you want to talk about that?
That is drawn from real life because that is the
Uh,
relationship of tribal governments versus federal governments versus state governments. Um, there's a whole lot of baked in paternalism in how uh, Western governments deal with indigenous tribes. And even like the most well-meaning, the Jarl is a great guy who just wants to help, and he wants to get everybody in the same tent, and it doesn't work out as well as he would have hoped, because there's a lot of people who are very opposed to that. And also, the things he is doing, thinking he's helping, are not necessarily helpful. It's kind of
I
like,
guess it's all.
everybody come into our giant tent. Your tent is horrible. Why would I want to be there?
Yeah, I guess this goes back to that first question and what you get to explore with the alternate history.
Hmm.
Okay, so speaking of the English and how they change things, I thought it was really interesting how you brought in new folks who started talking about place names and how the English sort of just changed the names of stuff because they decided it sounds like something else.
That's a thing
Um,
that really happens.
yeah,
That is a very common thing all throughout New England. Um, a whole lot of place names are mistranscribed. But one of my favorite, like nearby, is a place called Horseneck Beach. And you would think that it was named that, but like, what is it? Shaped like a horse neck? Is it? No, no. It's because it's the word horseneck, and horseneck means freshwater waterfall going to the sea, essentially. So, but when English speakers came over, they heard the word horseneck and went horseneck, and that's really really common. Um, you just kind of like pick out the phonemes that sound like words in your own language and paste them on. So instead of Acushnet, we get Catchnet.
I find linguistics like totally fascinating, so I had to ask. It looks like we got our first question in the Q&A. Um, Gabby would like to know what the process of working with an audio narrator was like, um, and that because there's a lot of pronunciations for 3 to 4 different languages and dialects that she thought were fantastically read.
This is very much facilitated by my team at Del Rey. Um, they gave me like a short list of people to choose from, and I was able to choose who the narrator would be, and then we worked together with. It was like, how is this pronounced? How is this pronounced? How is this pronounced? Um, until we had, we were on the same page. Um, it helps that my narrator is familiar with Haudenosaunee, which is it's in the same broad language family as it's the Algonquian languages. Um, I draw a lot from Nipmuc because that is the language that I am most familiar with, but also Wapanak in general. Had to do a lot of language research for this, and one of my favorite for English, the language, is wiki, a project called the English Moot,
Oh.
and that provides a lot of sources. So I would like go to the English Moot and find out, okay, this is the word you've chosen. Why have you chosen it? Let me go to the source that you went to and see if I agree.
And like, yeah, in the second book, you even bring in like another, Neki word for dragon. So you're expanding it even further.
Yes, that's the
You
that's
bring
the
in,
Haudenosaunee word for them, and it's Missiginnibic, which is um like great water beast, basically, because
oh,
they associate the dragons with lakes because we have inland seas in the United States.
and then if I was understanding right, the new characters are also there's some from basically what would be our Poland. So
Mm.
it made me wonder, how far are you planning to explore the world? I know the map shows everything except for like the west coast of North America.
Yes, the English have not reached the Pacific, basically. They don't even know that Australia exists. Um, and good for Australia. I have a lot of world building done, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to get to in just this trilogy, because this is going to be a closed trilogy. Anikus's story will have a definitive end. Um, and if I revisit the world, it will be at different times. Um, probably close to the same place though, because this is my home. This is what I want to write about, New England fiction. There's not enough of it that isn't Lovecraft.
Well, it's good to know it's a closed trilogy because I mean, the tension is ratcheting so much by the end of book two, and I'm like,
Yes, I definitely left a cliffhanger there. Um, things get worse before they get better.
oh, yeah, definitely can see that. Um, okay, so you have like a lot of chapters where people share different tales from their cultures. Could you talk about like the importance of story in your novels and sort of the differences with how some of your characters see lore from air lore?
Okay, that's two different questions, but let's do the reason I've incorporated like the folk tales of various cultures is because I think that is one of the great lenses by which we see what a culture's core values are. Is like, what stories do they tell to their children? What do your fairy tales look like? Um, and how much do you think those are things that actually happened? Because it like lore is all of story and history and legend and etc. Air lore is history. It is things that we concur have actually occurred. Um, whereas, there's things that have passed into legend. Did this really happen? Did this have a basis in reality? Um,
Oh, looks like we have a question in the chat.
mm,
Uh, and just remember, if you'd like to ask a question, please put it in the Q&A. It gives us like a special notification, so we'll see it more easily. But this one is from Amber and wants to know what the planning process is like for structuring a multi-book series.
oh God. So, half planning, half seat of my pants. I knew at the beginning it was going to be a trilogy, and I have the very broad strokes of what's going to happen. But as the series develops, as like, occasionally there's like discovery in the writing process, and your characters will throw, a left curve at you, and you're like, well, now I have to think about that. Would this character say that? What is this character's history? Um, I tend to like my character building process is this is the role they need to fill. What kind of person would fill that role? Because all of my characters think they're the protagonist. Um,
And Gabby would like to know, how did the story originally come to you?
oh gosh, this is going back way back. Um, I probably started exploring this back in like 2010. This got built out of I wanted to do a Dragon Rider story. I am a Pern girl. I don't. I also love the Temeraire series. I wanted to explore that, and I wanted it to be indigenous because indigeneity is very seldom well explored in fantasy. Um, and so it grew out of indigenous Dragon Rider. How do I make this story? And you can't talk about indigeneity without talking about colonization. Um, as much as it wouldn't make sense to not have that conversation in the book. Um, like I can write short stories that are set pre-contact, and that's fun, but it doesn't. Um, it's very wish fulfillment kind of. I I'm not really a utopian. I think that no matter what happens, that there would be problems, and it's which problems are we dealing with?
It's fun to see how much everything you're saying is just resonating with people in the chat. Very excited. A lot of Pern fans. Um, Liz would like to know, what's your aquarium?
Oh, this one behind me currently has nothing in it but plants. Um, it was a guppy breeding tank, and I have since stopped that. Don't worry, all the guppies are fine. They went to other homes, but right now I have nothing to do with it. Behind me, that's a gargoyle gecko, and over here I've got morning geckos, but you can't see them because they're up on a shelf in front of me.
Aaron wants to know if you are writing the third book now, um, and are there going to be any other stories after the trilogy is finished?
I am writing the third book now. It's like pulling teeth. Um, I this is the first time that I've written a series that was not already complete before attempting to publish it. And it's a very different challenge, I find, too, because now I can't go back and change the canon. I have to work with what exists and is out in the world, and I've never done that before. And I don't think I'll do it again. But there probably will be follow-up short stories, other things exploring the world. I would really like for this to become a collaborative world where people from other cultures who have, I can really only speak deeply to my own experience. Um, I would love for other people to, write fan fiction, write other stories in this universe. I would love it to be a shared universe where people can bring what they'd like to it. Like, I have a friend who is very interested in what's going on in Italy because that's their background. And in my universe, Italy is not united. It's just a bunch of city-states. Um, but I haven't explored that very well because that's not where my story is.
Let's see. Oh, and you got a thank you from Aaron. And then Megan wants to know, Do you ever get confused with who did what or mix history on accident? I'm curious about how you keep it all organized.
Lots and lots and lots of documents. Um, I have so many notes that I can refer back to every time I decide something. I've got like the list of all the students at the school in one, and I've got the ferry and train schedules. Oh my God. As I said on Tumblr to somebody who asked this, I am never again going to have a book where it's a plot point that the train and ferry have schedules.
I mean, that sounds like the perfect thing if you decide to write a mystery, though.
Hmm.
Lisa wants to know, do you prefer writing for YA, or do you think you'll venture into like fully adult books?
I don't know what those categories really are. I tell stories, and therefore whoever wants them. So I don't see, like, I don't understand what differentiates YA from adult, really, because it seems very arbitrary. When you look up like what's the difference between YA and adult, you'll get 100 different answers that are all contradictory. Um, I write in, I think, a way before those were categories. Um, like, are the Chronicles of Narnia YA or adult, or are they for children? That's kind of where I come from. It's I am just here to tell the story.
Yeah, looks like the audience definitely agrees with you. Okay, we have Carissa asking, do you have a favorite or best way to organize all of your lore for your books? Google Docs, lists, etc.
I use Google Docs, and I have all of them backed up on my own computer. And I need to be better organized with it. They're kind of a mess. The file names are ridiculous.
Okay, we're getting down towards the end, so please put your questions in the Q&A if you have any more. And for now, do you have any hints you can give us about where the series is going?
um, there's going to be a civil war, and then it's going to be resolved. And lots of things are happening. So, um, I fundamentally wanted to have a different outcome with how federal governments interact with tribal governments than the one we got in the real world.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very interesting because I don't the culture that the English have built is not as unified. Like they don't have a real federal system. The individual city states are, act very much like little kingdoms.
Mhm.
So like there's the High King, and then there's the Jarls, and I wanted to explore more in New Limerick, which is New York, but I ended up going north because we're going to involve a lot of the Haudenosaunee Confederation in the third book. Um,
Uh,
the second book we got to meet a couple of my very favorite characters, who I don't know if you want to if you want spoilers about this, but we do meet a mentor figure who is also a dragon rider who is of an indigenous culture, which is not Anakus's culture.
yeah.
Um, and she will become very important in book 3.
Ooh. Okay, we've got a stack of related questions. I'll just read all three of these. So first, what are you reading now? What novels and stories have inspired you? And what nonfiction resources do you use for your books?
Okay, nativelanguages.org, um, great resource for native languages, the English Moot, great resource for how I've built English, which is, I don't know if a whole lot of people understand that they are from England. But England was conquered by the Norse in this
Yeah.
universe. So That's what I'm reading right now. Right now, I am between novels. I just finished reading A Snake Falls to Earth by Darcy Little Badger. Highly recommend. Um, Next on my list is Into the Wildborn, A Psalm to the Wild Built, which that's the next thing on my list. I haven't read it yet, so no spoilers. But I read a lot more nonfiction than fiction. A lot of the fiction I read is on AO3. But things that I've read recently that I really enjoyed, I read a lot of anthologies. Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time, Love After the End, New Sons, New Sons 2, Octavia's Brood. Highly recommend all of those books.
You're getting a lot of fan fiction love from the audience. Okay. Beth wants to know, she says, it may be off topic, but we're all curious about your back wall, skulls, and more. Do they inspire your work? And what's your relationship to them?
I've been collecting skulls since I was about 13 years old. There is some indigenous woo about where the spirit is stored in the body, and the various animals that I have here do inspire me. They're part of me and I'm part of them. So I feel like I need a clarifying question here. That's
Okay, so if you have a clarification, put it in the Q&A and then we'll toss that in. And until then, Amber wants to know if you would change anything about your writing and creative processes if you were starting to write the trilogy fresh today.
I don't know that I don't understand how I could. Like I don't decide the way I write. This is just kind of an extension of who I am and how I deal with language and the world. And uh, I've been writing for so long that I can't really trace how I started writing. Um, like the first novel length thing I wrote was when I was 12, and I still have that, and it's terrible. But it's the effort of a 12-year-old. And I never really, I don't delete things ever. So I have all of the writing I've ever done, and I can look back on it, and I often pull ideas out of it. Um, I am diagnosed hyperlexical. I was writing words at the age of 3.
Oh,
Yeah. um, so yeah, when people are like, "How did you start writing?" I started with the pointy letters. A M.
so Beth says, inspired by the spirits being part of you and you are part of them, I don't think you need to share more, but I appreciate hearing the connection. So you answered her question.
Okay.
Um, Megan wants to know if you collect and prepare them yourself.
Some of them are collected myself. Some of them have been traded for at powwows. Some of them have been purchased. Um, like the cow in the middle is that, but that was a purchase. But the very damaged deer skull directly above the mirror, that is one of the first skulls I ever found. And I don't do preparation in the common sense. I just leave it outside until it's clean.
Ah,
um, I don't do like the whole chemical boiling. I don't keep dermatescent beetles. I let nature do its thing with the cleaning of skulls, and then I dip them in bleach water before hanging them on my wall.
our half hour passed way too quickly, so we are at
Aww.
the end. But thank you so much, Moniquill.
Thank you very much for
And
having me.
And thank you to all the librarians and educators for joining us today. Next, we have three concurrent panels, Screens and Pages, Not for the Faint of Heart, and Comics and Manga RA for middle grade and teens. I hope you all have a fantastic day.
One last thing,
Oh, yes.
if you would like to continue discussion with me, I am always available on Tumblr. If you just look up Moniquill on Tumblr, you will find me, and my inbox is open.